Hi, everybody. David Fogel back with you, CEO of the Symphonina Foundation, back with another Symphonina Foundation podcast, number 3 this week. It's been a busy week. And I'm joined today by conductor, composer, arranger, clarinetist, educator. I'm probably leaving some things out. Evan Ross Solomon. Evan, how are you?
Thanks, David. Thanks very much for having me on the show. I'm doing very well.
I bet I did leave something out, though, didn't I?
I think that was pretty robust description.
It was. It was. But, you know, the one thing I wanted to focus on first with you is as a conductor and I think maybe artistic director, you work leading the DC Youth Orchestra Program. And as you know, at the Symphonina Foundation, we're not all about little kids. I will say, you know, our mission is spreading the joy of symphonic music to younger audiences around the world. Younger just means younger than me, which is just about everybody. But you know, we do have a soft spot for kids too. So tell us a little bit about the DC Youth Orchestra Program, how you got involved with it, and what you've been doing.
Well, absolutely. So the DC Youth Orchestra Program is just an amazing organization that's comprised of nearly 700 students, 40 teachers and conductors, and a fairly robust full-time staff that is trying to bring music to any student who has a desire to learn to play an instrument and sort of understand the great power and perspective of playing in an orchestra and making music with others. At this time, we have 10 orchestra levels, and I am the conductor of the most advanced sort of collegiate or conservatory level orchestra,
Okay. Yep.
which is simply called the DC Youth Orchestra. While we will accept any student who auditions and slot them into one of our 10 sort of progressive orchestra levels, when you reach the very pinnacle of the program, the youth orchestra, you are afforded the really life-changing opportunity to tour the world on a performance tour. And we just returned from our 22nd tour of all time, and this time was to South Africa.
Wonderful. Did you tour while you were in South Africa? Did you go to Johannesburg?
Yeah, we visited Pretoria, Johannesburg, Soweto, and then wrapped up the tour in Cape Town with 2 performances in Cape Town. Very, very fantastic country and an amazing experience for our young musicians. We toured with a group of 65 members.
Incredible.
About 20% of those were alums of our program who returned for the opportunity. Many of them are in conservatories or studying at universities in the music realm. Mm-hmm. And they've come back to join for that sort of enterprise. And each time we do one of these international tours, quite a few of our alums who are continuing along the path of music come back to join the program.
Must be interesting to do the logistics of all that. I mean, I know when I was young, we had our field trip to Washington, D.C. And our group, maybe we had 30 or 40 people kids go. And I remember being old enough to appreciate that the parents had quite a lot of responsibility. So I can imagine as you're going and taking kids all the way around the world to another country, it must be a lot on you to make sure not only that the music's going to turn out well, but everything's going to turn out well.
Well, we have a great team, and I can't give enough thanks and shout outs to our amazing partners at Classical Movements located here in Alexandria, Virginia. They are just really a foremost company for producing, promoting, and handling all the travel aspects of the international touring. And they do a lot of the major symphony orchestras as well in the country, including the National Symphony. And in fact, we followed a lot of a similar itinerary to the great Minnesota Orchestra, who was also one of their clients. So we were in really, really exceptionally good hands with Nita and Alessandra and the whole Classical Movements gang over there. And they are excellent in South Africa. So it really, really helped us.
That is wonderful. And do the students, if you have a contrabass, I guess you're not traveling with your own instrument. What do you do? Do some travel with their own instrument, or how does it go?
We rent the larger instruments, the cello and the bass and the percussion, the harp, the piano is all acquired in country. And we have a little time. There's always a special moment there when our musicians meet their temporary instrument for the tour, and we have our first rehearsal with those instruments and see how it goes and get nice and comfy And that's basically what we tend to do to eliminate the travel costs of the cello, bass, etc.
Yeah, that makes total sense. And as a piano player, I make this point occasionally that that's a thing that a pianist has to do every time, right? They're traveling, they get their new piano and figure out how does this one respond. So it's all fair to have a cello player have that
Exactly.
same experience once in their life. Maybe that's great. And then when you come back to DC, do you do performances here touring in America too, or what's the U.S.
So
plan?
our youth orchestra performs here in Washington, D.C., frequently at the University of the District of Columbia Theater of the Arts, approximately three performances there per season. And then we also perform at a lot of other places. Historically, we performed at the Kennedy Center. We also perform at the wonderful Clarice Smith Performing Arts Center from the University of Maryland. It's a beautiful concert hall that has incredible acoustics. Our students love to perform there. And then many other venues around the region. And whenever an event happens or something special here in the District of Columbia, we're often invited to perform at some of those things. And we had a great experience just last summer playing at the Smithsonian's Folk Festival, which is
Okay.
a really popular event and draws a humongous crowd down to the National Mall. So our students were featured, one of the great acts to show the sort of progress in youth in the arts, which was sort of what the theme was centered on last year.
Yeah, I mean, I can't thank you enough for what you're doing. I mean, I, none of us listening actually can thank you enough for what you're doing, but thank you so much for what you're doing.
It's really our pleasure and something that I truly believe I was put on the planet to participate in. And so I'm blessed to also have the opportunity.
And you also have the opportunity to play with other professional musicians. You're principal clarinet and executive director of the Inscape Chamber Orchestra. I believe I have that correct. Tell us about the orchestra.
So the Inscape Chamber Orchestra was founded by Richard Sherbo, who's been one of my career-long musical partners, probably my closest musical associate over the last 2+ decades. And in 2004, actually, we were all students at the University of Maryland School of Music studying for our master's degree. And we formed an orchestra that at that time was referred to as the Philharmonia Ensemble, also known as Proto Inscape. And a few years later, as some of our friends and colleagues sort of matured into professional musicians, although albeit young ones, we started our Inscape Chamber Orchestra and started performing basically a combination of new music and classic music together on the same concert. And we had a flexible ensemble. Could be one person, could be up to 24 people. You never know what, just depended solely on the repertoire. And slowly but surely, we built our sort of resume as an orchestra. And we ended up playing many performances at the National Gallery of Art, the Kennedy Center, the Strathmore here in Bethesda, Maryland, as well as doing many concerts around the country as a touring ensemble. Over that period, we also recorded 5 different albums. All of them are available on Spotify or YouTube or wherever you listen to music. And those albums sort of show the breadth of what Inscape has done over the last essentially 20 years, which is perform new music by talented young composers, especially American ones, perform pieces of music from the classic orchestral repertoire, but reduced for a sinfonietta sized group. And that's sort of what our recordings and what our concert performances are like these days.
Yeah, I think that's great. It's always good to reimagine how orchestral works might sound in different settings too. I think that maybe not always, but often it's good to hear how things would be in a reduced or an enlarged version too, I guess.
So both of those are unique possibilities. And what we found with these reductions, and one of the ones I could point you to, which is our release on Sono Luminous, Stravinsky's Petrushka,
Hmm.
conducted by Richard Sherbo with Inscape, and features all of our principal players. And it was reduced by a brilliant composer from the National Gallery of Art. I'm sorry, from the Library of Congress, David Fogel, who is a fantastic administrator, composer, mu musician and like historian, is a fantastic guy, brilliant guy who did this reduction for us. And that was our first foray of commissioning a reduction. And
Hmm.
then it turns out that there's many people that are composing and arranging for just this sort of situation with reducing works from major symphonic endeavors into maybe 12, 13, 14 people. And this, for example, this season we did the Rachmaninoff symphonic dances arranged by Jules Gale. I
Yeah.
think it was 16 players. We also did Mothister Mahler for similar forces. And when we listen to the recordings, sometimes we say, oh, well, maybe we don't need 96 people. And we're pleased with the outcome. And the audience seems to really like them because you hear the piece in a different way. And you also experience sometimes the inner parts of the music, which
Yeah.
get kind of drowned out when there's so many musicians. And
Yeah.
of course, the beauty of the orchestra, I spend a lot of time orchestrating, and there's nothing like a full symphony orchestra. So this is something that's sort of orchestra adjacent, but it's a great way to explore these monster pieces in maybe a smaller venue.
Yeah, and I think probably you get a different feel in the smaller venue too, a different experience, and probably it's in some ways easier to have them performed when you only have to have 15 or 20 or 13, as you just said, people than 60.
It serves almost a dual purpose of an accessibility piece,
Exactly.
because now people can come and hear this thing that maybe there's not a large concert hall in their town. Maybe they don't have access to a major symphony orchestra, but they want to hear this repertoire. And that's not only for people that don't live in major cities, people in our very region who are maybe immobile. So we've spent some time going to senior living communities and schools and things like that to try to bring this music in a new way.
I love that. That's great.
Yeah,
Yeah, I think that anything that we can do to open those transitions to the symphony orchestra experience are great. I
absolutely.
fully support them. You mentioned orchestration and other things. What are you working on now along those lines for the rest of this year?
So I'll be composing a series of short orchestral pieces to sort of fill a need inside concert repertoire. And I'm thinking in particular of orchestras, Christmas and holiday concerts and festival concerts such as 4th of July festival or any sort of patriotic thing. So I'm endeavoring to create some short pieces of music so the orchestra has access to some new, interesting music
Yeah.
that is not played every time. And one of the things I'd like to do is make this accessible to the composers, or I'm sorry, to the conductors who want to program this stuff in a way that makes it available.
Hmm.
And one of the things I've learned in my sort of dual roles is that 5 minute piece of music that costs $1,000 to rent from the publisher is not always an optimal business plan for holiday concerts or 4th of July. And so I want to try to provide some pieces that can fill in those gaps so they're not doing the same thing every year. And I heard a lot of need from that from some of my conductor colleagues. But I'm also working on in the near term, a sort of companion piece to Peter and the Wolf
Oh,
to be played by an Inscape size orchestra to try to take the Peter and the Wolf and the words from the writer I'm working with, the great she's a music neuroscientist here in Washington D.C. named Jessica Phillips Silver, incredible person, and we're working together to create the scenario and tie in the musical themes, motives, etc., to different emotions and different point of view of children, animals, in a way that Peter and the Wolf only scratches the surface of. So this will be the companion piece to
okay.
Peter and the Wolf. And I can't tell you much more about that than it's in the ideation stage, but that's one of my big projects for this year. And then I have a premiere of a short piece I wrote called Green Aventurine. And I'm very interested in the healing power and the magnetism and of crystals and minerals. And I've been writing a few pieces about that. The last piece that I wrote was called Hematite, and that was one of the pieces our youth orchestra performed in South Africa. So this piece is about green aventurine, but I think I could also try to make a subtitle like Great or Good American Concert Opener. And so that's how I
Nice.
hear this in music.
Nice.
Yeah, so that's going to be,
Yeah, is
I'm
Inscape
sorry.
Chamber Orchestra performing that, or who's performing
So
that?
this one will actually be performed by the mighty Columbia Orchestra of Columbia, Maryland, under the direction of my longtime associate and friend, Richard Sherbo, who
Okay.
was the music director of that really fine orchestra. A lot of my friends in there. And so I'm looking forward to hearing them perform this piece. And I'm going to be heading up to Vermont in a couple weeks to go to the Pikes Falls Chamber Music Festival. So one of the few other things I do on clarinet at this point, I really reduced the amount of clarinet weeks I've been doing
Mm.
in because of the, all the conducting and composing. It can
Sure.
take up some of your time. But so I will be playing, and actually will be playing a short piece I wrote called Sandstone, which is a little reflection on my experience in South Africa going on a safari.
Nice. Where did you go on safari?
So we went to Pilanesberg National Park, which is about 3 hours drive north of Johannesburg, but it has the big five game animals, which we did get to see some really incredible things, including the cheetah, which
Okay.
is, my understanding, is very rare. So, but another form of natural excursion is going to Vermont, and we love going
It's
to
true.
Pikes Falls Chamber Music Festival. And a major shout out to Susanna Lowy, who runs that festival. She's also the principal flute of Inscape. We've been going there since 2012. We produce pretty much new music every season with our composer in residence for the last almost decade, a great composer named Nathan Lincoln de Cusatis, whose music has really started to flourish in the symphonies and chamber music in the United States. So we're very, very pleased that he will be there as well.
Wonderful. Back on your DC Youth Orchestra with a question. You having gone to South Africa, do you know where you're going to be
Yeah.
traveling in 27?
So that's the big mystery, and we'll find out. We actually tour every other year, so we
Oh,
will
okay.
playing, and I can tell you in 27 we'll be playing hopefully at the National Zoo here in Washington D.C. with a animal themed
Yes.
concert.
Yes.
But in 2028 we'll have our next international tour. We'll announce where that is soon. But we've done quite a few European tours. We did 2 tours to the South American continent, and we did this tour now to Africa. So we'll have to see what the future brings, but hopefully it'll be a place where our students have their lives transformed by the power of orchestral music and touring together.
Again, I can't thank you enough for the positive transformation that you're helping all those kids have, and everybody else who will be in there in the future that we don't even know yet. It's just wonderful.
Well, thank you so very much.
Evan, if people want to get in touch with you, what's the best way to do that?
Well, the best way to do that is through the internet. I'm a very easy guy to find, so you can email me at evan@dcyop.org, or you can follow my Instagram or Facebook, and I'll be happy to get in touch with anybody who is sharing a passion and a philosophy for music education and performing new and great music.
Evan, thanks so much. We're going to listen to some more music from you from Inscape Chamber Orchestra on the way out here. And if there is anything at all that we can do at the Symphonina Foundation to be of help to you, just let us know.
Well, thank you so very much, and thanks for having me.